hit the go live button. Okay. And all right, this thing is telling us we're live. Let me update the monitoring over here. And then I'll start the Instagram one too.
Perfect.
Yep, there we go. I can hear my voice. Cool. All right, let me start the Insta. All right, we're going on Insta. I'm going to add you. Invite. Cool. That should be all right. You should be getting that. Just bear with us, people. We're just making sure this is all going through. Already, someone hopped in on the. There you go. All right. So hopefully your video should pop up on there now.
I did something wrong.
Oh.
Hang on. I see you, and
Yeah, I think you have to request the. There we go. I hit accept.
looks like I requested.
All right. It should be going through now. Accept. I don't know why it isn't going through on that.
We need elevator music. Background elevator
Yeah, we
music.
do need elevator music. Where's the girl from Ipanema when you need it? Sent a request to be in the view request. Go live. There we go. All right, now it should work. And
There we go.
all right. Fantastic. All right, I'm turning the volume off on this. All right. Awesome. This is fantastic. All right, what's going on, everybody? My uncle already commented on that. Great. Okay, cool. So, this is BORASCAST 2. This is fantastic. So, if you see me looking in all different types of directions, it's because I'm looking at the main monitor over here. I'm looking at the YouTube stream over there, and I'm looking at the Instagram stream here. But the point is that we got everybody on here, so I'm loving this. So, first off, let me introduce our guest here. This is my friend and fellow Berklee alum, Rachel DeWitt.
Yes. Hello.
Yes. So, I guess what we're going to be talking about today, but the first thing I'm going to want to do is talk a little bit about how we met first. So well, actually, Rachel, do you want to tell the story?
Sure. So we both went to Berklee at different times, and
Yes.
I did mine online instead of in person. But the year that I was supposed to graduate, everything shut down. We had no graduation, and my parents said, let's go up to Boston anyway. So we took the whole ride. We walked around the city. I wore my regalia all over the place. People congratulated me thinking that I had just graduated high school, but nonetheless. And taking photos out front of the building, the Berklee building, we ran into the Boraz family. And I was holding a lightsaber, and the guys thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I was like, here, you can take pictures with it. And since then, we've been friends.
Yep. Yeah, you and Ethan, my youngest brother, graduated at the same time.
Yep.
And I remember this was before because he had graduated in the middle of COVID as well. That was when they had to do the online graduation ceremony.
Right.
And we were watching it from my parents' apartment, and then we drove out to Boston, and just to take pictures around the area. And yeah, and I remember we saw you and your mom at 11:40 with your lightsaber, and I'm like, that is awesome. And then we talked, and then after checking out each other's social media, saw all the different musical endeavors that both of us were doing, and then I remember that was what sparked us doing our first collaboration together.
Mhm.
I can't remember,
Yep.
was it I that approached you or you approached me, or were we just talking and it led to that? Because this is going
I
back
think
2 years.
Yeah, I think we were talking about wanting to do a collaboration, and then every year for Christmas, I always do a series of videos and try to get people involved in those. And so I was like, "Hey, Max, let's have you come on." And yeah.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the first time you've ever had like a metal person do a collab with you, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was not sure what to do with that, so I was like, "Well, how about you play classical guitar? That would be a good start."
Yeah. Yeah. Although I think I was the one that brought up the classical guitar part first, I think.
Yeah, I think you had mentioned it, and I was like, "Yep, that will work."
Yep. Yeah, and then we did our that instrumental version of Silver Bells.
Uh-huh.
Um yeah, and then the following year we did an actual metal rendition of God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. And you
Yes.
and you
That was
put
the
that
first
cool
time I've ever been involved in a metal project.
there you go. There's a first time for everything, isn't there? Yeah. So yeah, so and then yeah, and so I guess for like any of like my peeps that are watching this, and I know your peeps are watching too because we're on this because we're doing this on Instagram. Um, for any of my peeps
Mhm.
that may not know about you, why don't you talk a little bit about your background, the kind of music you're into, and like what your journey's been so far and what you're involved in currently?
Yeah. So I have been involved in music all my life. I started playing piano and keyboard when I was 4 years old. So I've been at this for 20 years now. Since then, I also started playing cello and acoustic guitar, bass guitar, ukulele, pretty much anything with strings on it. You hand it to me, I'll find a way to play it. And I do a plethora of genres. I'm classically trained since the young age, but I also spend much of my time working in the church with music there and arranging music for that. I'm now currently the music and arts ministry director at a church here in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And then along with that, I have my own YouTube channel that I diligently post on and arrange things for. And I do everything on there from rock music to 50s music, which is my favorite genre, and jazz kind of stuff. Yeah, all of that. I did a country song the other day, so I try to keep it interesting. There's very few genres that I don't dive into, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and that's cool. Yeah, and it's yeah, and I know a ton of musicians that are like either they're like the music director at their church or they play in a church and
Mhm.
that's just like one of their many gigs that they have. You know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
do I play the
I've been playing with the church since I was 12. I first joined the adult worship team when I was 12, and that really taught me a lot. And I just felt really called to it all my life. And so that's where God has me right now, and excited to be in the leader position at this point.
that's good. No, and the thing too is that like it's always important to I say this to all my students as well. It's important to do as many things as you can musically, even if it's a genre that you may not necessarily, even if it's a position musically you may not have expected yourself to do. Like, I mean, I know you're into the music directing thing, but for some people that may not necessarily know what the music director job entails, but they know how to be a good leader. It's a good way to enhance those skills even more. And the thing too is
Right.
that like if you're the music director, you have to know the music better than anybody else does.
Mhm.
It's like being a teacher as well because you teach as well, don't you?
I did for a little while, yeah.
Yeah. But so then you know that like when you're a teacher as well, a music teacher, you can't just you can't just intuitively know how a concept works. You got to know it inside and out, backwards and forwards, and be able to explain it a few different
Right.
ways.
Right,
And
exactly.
it's which you normally don't find out until like day one of teaching. You think, oh, I understand this, I understand music theory and harmony and how to read music and all this stuff so well, and you may intuitively, but then when you have a brand new student come in who doesn't understand what the major scale is and you try to explain that to them and you just sound like that doesn't work. So yeah, it's yeah. But my point is that like yeah, doing as many different things as you can makes you not only a better player but just a better musician altogether, and you understand the craft way better as well.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I was at Berklee, my degree was in interdisciplinary music studies. So I chose to have a little bit of everything. So I have the performance side, but I also have the business side and the production side, and that's another thing about being a musician and knowing that you need to be well-rounded enough to have your hand in a lot of different pots and learn from all those experiences, have different areas of revenue, etc.
Yeah, it sounds similar to what I did. I did pro music when I was at Berklee. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you did Berklee online. So you said it was interdisciplinary studies. Is that basically the online equivalent of pro music?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's yeah. Well, yeah. So yeah, with me doing the pro music degree as well, I had my hands in a few different things as well. I was doing contemporary writing, production, and music and production and engineering, and I was also doing performance on top of that. So I could continue taking lessons, but at the same time, I was studying, all different types of writing. I was learning different ways of recording and stuff like that. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm able to do what we're talking about today, which is online collaboration. I collaborate with a lot of different people. I've helped co write songs with people, but most of the time that's usually been in the same room. But can I disclose where you live online or no?
It's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, you tend to flip back and forth. So where would you say your main residence is?
I just call it I'm in the Delmarva area.
There
So
you go.
I am all up and down that coast there.
Yeah. Right. So you're pretty far from me. So that's why these collaborations that we do, we basically have meetings like this via Zoom, and then we'll discuss what we want to do, and then we'll start working on our own and start sending ideas to each other, and then once we know kind of what the structure and the arrangement is of something, that's when we can start sending specific individual parts to each other.
Right.
And and this was a muscle that I think so much of us got to exercise even more so when the pandemic took place. I mean, online collaboration had been happening for a while before that anyway.
Hmm.
But once the pandemic set in, that was all we could possibly do.
Right.
And definitely a lot of people learned, and it's interesting talking about having your hands in a few different pots when we were at school, definitely trained us for, amongst so many other things, that being able to home record and then be able to send just files to each other back and forth.
Right.
And I had done a little bit of that before already, but this but doing that via the pandemic, and then obviously learning about how to do it in school too, really helped me to be able to do this kind of stuff. When I did my most recent album, Transhuman, my friend Charles Volk, who mixed that, he lives in England. So I would have to send him a session worth of 80 to 100 tracks and make sure everything's edited and properly. There's a whole system that you have to follow
Right.
before you send stuff out like that. And it's a similar thing here too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot more to it when you have to do it online because there's so many different aspects that you have to think about that come so naturally when you're just sitting next to somebody in the studio and taking granted for the fact that when you're with somebody in person you can literally like sit there with your instruments and figure things out on the spot, as opposed to, like you said, what we have to do, have these Zoom calls and kind of, yeah, I think this beat will work, but let me go take that to Ethan and see if it works with the track that you've sent me, and then if it doesn't, let's reconvene next week and reassess the situation.
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm not mistaken, though, with these Christmas collaborations that you do, I'm not the only person you're working. I almost said overseas.
I do have overseas people I'm working with.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I'm not the only person that lives super far away from you that you're
Right.
doing remote collaborations with. You have a number of other people you're working with people all over the world for this stuff, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So my first, before I even started doing like Christmas collaborations and stuff, my first online collaboration was during school. A few of the classes that I had, there was a friend that I connected with in class, and he was actually living overseas in Italy at the time, and we would do Zoom calls and we would write songs and then have to do this back and forth thing. So I kind of got used to the process, and that was sort of my first introduction to it. And I really enjoy that. So it's like, yeah, well, why not do more of this? And why not get more people involved? And now, I did the 1 year, started it with Christmas, and it's just become kind of a tradition now. And this time around, I am having one of the videos is going to be with a group of friends that I play with. We have a Facebook group, and it's a bunch of older guys. Most of them live in England. Some of them live in California, and then I'm right in the middle. I'm the only girl, and I'm the youngest person. And I like to push them out of their comfort zones and do fun challenges with them. So this year I picked a song and I was like, "Hey guys, tell me what you think. Are you into this?" And everybody responded right back. They're like, "Sure, just tell us what we need to do." So sometimes it's a little complicated because they're not professional musicians and they're also not super tech savvy. And generally they're just recording with their phones, not with like actual audio recording equipment. So I
Right.
have like a whole list of this is exactly how to do it, and having to, explain how to listen on one device with headphones in, listen to me record along with that with a different device so that we keep things separate. And so it's been a learning curve for me. Like you said, when you're teaching and you can't just go, okay, this is a major scale and everybody understands. It's like, okay, who am I working with? What is my audience here? How do I explain this in a way that makes sense hundreds of miles away in a different kind of realm?
Yeah. No, and you know what? I can relate to that too, explaining what to do technically on the other person's end. Because for anyone that's watching right now, some people may remember back when, right as the shutdown happened, I wanted to raise money for venues all over the place that had to shut down because of the pandemic and were losing business. So I basically put together, I called up like 30 different musicians I know from all over the place, um, and tried to organize what I called a global jam with all of us playing Lead Boots by Jeff Beck. Now, the trick there was forget about the fact that I knew that in post production it was going to be like at least 22-hour days just trying to make sure it's all in sync and then editing it together and mixing the
Right.
audio. But I knew I had to explain to everyone because not everybody that was on there uh had ever done like home recording before or had done it much. So I would explain to every single person there's, okay, you're going to play along to this track. You come in at exactly this point. Make sure you record
Right.
your audio separately. Make sure make sure oh, we just got to I'm just reading some of the comments here. It's like
Oh,
I think this might be a friend of yours.
yeah, I see them over here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks for hopping on though. So, but yeah, so I had to explain to a few different people, okay, this is the list of stuff that you need to do. Make sure you send your audio separate to me. Make sure there's no bleed. Make sure you're listening on headphones. All this kind of stuff. And yeah, just to make sure that it was, yeah. And then we don't need to talk about how it taxed my system so badly. It was like computer crashing every like 10 minutes. I would be up till like 6 in the morning working on that thing. Yeah. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I was teaching online at the time, so it wasn't like I had to hop in the car and drive places.
Yeah. So by the time I'm done with this big collaboration that I do, it's 8 of us total. And I can't imagine what putting 30 together is like. But I know with the 8, it is difficult because, especially with having phone camera audio as what you have to work with, because immediately that like boosts your volume out the window, and so you have to try to like tweak and pan things and fit them in, and sometimes you have to say, okay, whose voice is, you know, the best here, so that I can kind of make sure that one's a little bit higher and pull the others down while still trying to make sure everyone's heard. And
Right.
thankfully, this is the second time with these guys that I'm doing a mega collaboration like this. We did one, gosh, it's probably almost been a year now, but we did 8 days a week by the Beatles, and I
Yeah.
had, you know, it lined up for everybody how to do. So they're kind of familiar with it now, and I think it might go a little bit smoother. But at this point, it's now like waiting on, all right, I've sent it to this person. Let's wait for it to come back. And patience is so much of the online collaboration process,
Oh, yes.
which I
Yeah.
struggle with, because I'm
I
like, I want this right now so I can just move forward. Like, no, they need their time to work through it.
Yeah, no, it is what it is. Yeah. Kilber 1979 is asking, how do you deal with latency while collaborating, or is it kind of impossible to jam online? Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing is you can't necessarily jam with a person in this context because there is like a 3 second delay. But oh, which truck just hopped on? Hey, what's up? Sorry, I'm just seeing haphazardly who's hopping in and on and on and on. Yeah, I mean, do you want to add to that one? Like, what's
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's not, there's not really a good way to jam online. And I know during the pandemic that people were figuring out different ways to do it, but it took like some serious equipment and fast internet speeds and that kind of stuff that's just not feasible for everyone.
right?
So that definitely gets in the way of trying to, it's more of a, if you're going to do it, you have to do like a, I'll play something and then you play something and we can, you know, imagine how this fits together. But
Yeah, it's it's just unfortunately you can't I can't pick up a guitar right now and then she hops on the piano and then we just start playing together as if we're in the same room. It doesn't happen like that. Um, but so but that's a good thing in a way though, because then that just encourages people to, there's only so much you can do via online and there's a lot of great stuff you can, but it doesn't beat getting in the room with the person and playing with them.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which thankfully we're able to do again, or we've been able to do that for about a year and a half, at least where I am anyway.
Mhm.
Year and a half, 2 years now. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess yeah, but yeah, that is one of the cons with this is that like you can't, play in real time with the person. You kind of need to work stuff out, in advance, and plan the arrangements. Now, that being said, though, you can, with the technology we have, like you can work out some stuff in real time. Like try, like if I had my DAW open and you're on here and you're hearing the
Mhm.
desktop audio, you could make suggestions like, what if you try this over this section? I can try that, would play
Right.
it back and then be like, yeah, that works, or no, that doesn't work, and vice versa.
Right.
But but yeah, we just wouldn't necessarily be able to play it together.
Mhm.
And the same thing goes for when you're doing video stuff as well. There's only so much you can do over that. That requires planning and some scripting and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Video is another difficult piece of the puzzle if that's what you want to add in.
Yeah, it definitely is. But the thing too is that like the interesting thing though is that like even though as difficult as it is, it does make you wanna it does make you want to, as tricky as it is, it will be, if you want to really do it, it'll just force you to learn the new skill.
Mhm.
It will force you to learn that new skill and be able to just figure out what to do with it. And oh, and there's a strong echo coming from me. Oh, that's on Instagram, it's saying though. Is anyone on YouTube hearing a strong echo too? Let me
I
know in the
think,
comments.
yeah, I think it's an Instagram problem.
Hmm.
my my sound is down as far as it will go, but it won't let me like completely turn it off for some reason.
Oh,
So that
maybe.
might be my issue. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just an Instagram issue. Maybe.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure because I'm not hearing my monitoring coming. My monitoring's coming back through here on my monitors right there. But all right.
Sorry
Anyway,
about that.
no, it's yeah, it's what happens. It's what happens. Yeah. So yeah, but so like, what is your but like so like, what's your process in general for people that are looking to get into doing collaborations with people that are in different states or whatever? Like, what's your process for when you get together with a person and you and you're working something out with them and then figuring out the checklist of, all right, here's what we have to do in order to make this work. What's your
Hmm.
process usually?
Yeah, so often the collaborations that I do are less involved than the ones that you and I have worked on. A lot of the musicians that I tend to play with just for my YouTube channel are, as I said, not necessarily professionals, and so I want to get them involved, but it's a little bit of a different process. But
I'm
still,
gonna
it kind of
drop a link to your YouTube channel in the comments over here so people can go to that.
sure. Yeah, so I'm Noah Ray Music on YouTube, just for everybody who is wondering, and Max will drop the link as he said. But so it's still kind of the same process of talking through things. It always starts, of course, with like, communicating with the person, seeing if they'd be interested, letting them know kind of this is the time frame. Are you available to meet this time frame that I'm looking for? And then sometimes it's a matter of they'll say to me, sure, I'd love to. What song do you want to do? And I'll pick something. Or sometimes I've said to them like, hey, I'll do whatever song. I think the first year that Max and I collaborated, it was I let all my collaborators for that year pick which song they wanted to do. I said, whatever you pick, I'll go with it. And I had everything from simple stuff to another Berklee friend actually who is Jewish, and she said, I'd love to make a Hanukkah Christmas mashup. I was
Hmm.
like, okay, this adds some time to the process, but I can make this happen. And so yeah, there's always that back and forth of like, what should we do? And then figuring out instrumentation, of course, who's gonna do what, or as in our case, it's who's gonna do what list of things, because we'll play more than just one track. Um, yeah, and then with the other simpler ones I do, it will often be simply I video myself playing a part, send it to them, they video their self, and then they send it back, and I just combine the two. Or with the group of 8 guys that I'm doing with, it's like I sent it to one, he sends me back, I combine, I send the combined to the next guy, and we work our way down the list. So those are the simpler ones, and it's a little bit different with us, obviously, because we're doing something very involved.
Yeah.
So obviously our process is more of a back and forth. Like I laid for the one that we're working on right now, I laid down a pad for the
Mhm.
entire song. And then I went through and did all my vocals as well, so that there was something to track along to. And in this case, we are using a full orchestration that we're looking at. So we can easily say like, hey, you're going to come in at this measure. This is going to drop out here. And we've been able to go at it like that. But we've had multiple Zoom calls, like weekly check-ins to say, okay, how's this going? Listen to this. Do you like it? Are we on the right track?
Yep. This sounds horrible. Why on earth did you record this? Why are you no. No, no, no. That never happened.
No, it's more like, hey, your drummer is really good.
Oh, thank you. I do have an incredible drummer that lives next door to me.
An incredible brother.
Yes, he is my
Shout
brother.
out to Ethan.
Shout out to Ethan. Yeah. That dude is so brave because like I will and he's the most patient person in the world because I will I I'm good at scheduling, but a lot of times I will I'm working on multiple projects at the same time, so a lot of times so my process when I'm working on recording something and then eventually I need to put drums on, I tend to do all the guitars and the bass and the layers and everything first, just to a metronome, and then he'll listen to that, and then he'll start building some drum. He'll build a drum part around that. But sometimes I give it to him like 24 hours in advance. I'm like, hi, here's a 9-minute prog ridiculous very long song. Can you have drums for this ready by the time I get back from work tonight? Thank you. And he does. He'll be annoyed with me, but he does it. So, yeah.
Yep. That's great.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better at that so I don't do that to him. But even with like the thing we're working on here, when he did drums on it, we would do it in like we always do it in sections, but like there would be times where I'd be sitting here with the guitar and I'd be like, okay, what do we think could work for this? And then we would like do it together. We'd both have our instruments with us.
Right. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And he'll do it on his electronic kit in his room, and I'll run cables into here to do that. Still operating out of the apartment, but yeah. But yeah, but it's always fun, and and you and I have definitely upped the ante with each project for sure.
Yep. Last year we dove into the full blown metal, more than just 2 videos, put all this track together. And then of course this year we said, well, how about we add vocal in, and let's just sing in another language too, because why not? I mean,
it's always fun. Yes, and to your point before about following a score, thank God we have a score for this one, because we are basing this off of a previous arrangement but doing our own thing to it.
right.
But like the only thing we're really following from that other arrangement, I don't want to actually give away what it is. That's why I'm speaking cryptically here, but like, the only thing we're following from that other arrangement is pretty much just the form and the key. That's it. That's literally all we're following.
We definitely put our own interpretation on it.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, there's not, everything, pretty much everything else is different about this. And I'm looking forward to when you show the original people that did it, our version, and curious as to what they say. But yeah. But that'll be.
I mean, me knowing and having performed with the original version, I'm pretty mind blown. So hopefully it goes across the same way. Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's very cool. Yeah. So what are you currently working on at the moment? I'm assuming you're kind of in the Christmas stuff now, but what are you working on at the moment?
Yeah. So basically everything is now Christmas mode. I have a couple other side videos that I'm trying to get done this month just to have something to post in November. But aside from that, I have one of the videos for Christmas done, and then the other 3 are in the works. One is ours, 2 others are waiting on people. And then I will be doing one in-person collaboration with Mama D, actually. So we've been trying to practice and get it down. I picked something that's got a little bit of a crazy rhythm, so it's taken us a little bit longer to get in a groove of it, but thankfully I live with her, so it helps. We have time to practice. But yeah, I'm kind of in that mode right now of wanting to get all of Christmas done. I'll be busy with playing Nutcracker with an orchestra, and I'll be in NYC with the band who wrote the arrangement that we're recording.
Yeah.
So my December is messy, and I'm like, I gotta have these videos done ahead of time, which is a positive for me, because in all the past years of doing these Christmas collaboration videos, I have, like, at the very last minute said to people, hi, want to be in a video with me? Okay, I need this by next week. And like you were saying with Ethan, that can be kind of nerve-wracking to people who aren't used to doing this. Yeah. So this is positive. It's beginning of November, and I am already almost done with several of these, making progress.
That is great. Because I have a lot of peeps out in the New York, New Jersey area. So without giving away too much, because I want people to subscribe. Everyone that's on here right now, if you haven't subscribed to her website or her YouTube or Instagram, do all of that immediately. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
dropped the YouTube in her YouTube page in the chat on the YouTube stream. But for those of you watching on Instagram, you can see she's Rachel's, literally right below me here. And you go to her page and then subscribe to everything. But so when and where in New York are you going to be at? Is it Carnegie?
It is Carnegie, yes. Yeah, so it's the second week, the 9th, I will be at Carnegie, performing, helping run the choir and performing in the choir with a group there for the evening.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I got to try and make it out to that.
It would be awesome. It is definitely a really fantastic show with a fantastic group of people. And the night before, we take as many people from the choir who are willing to brave the cold. Me and the guy who's in charge of the choir, we always take them out caroling around the city, which is
Oh, that's
super
fun.
fun way to kick off the month and prepare for the concert the next day. And yeah, so very excited. We're getting real close.
Yes. No, that's going to be a good time for sure. Um, what did Rusty Shackelford ask on the Instagram chat? Favorite pop Christmas songs? That's a good question.
Ooh.
Yours?
So I'm a sucker for Michael Bublé in
Hmm.
any sense. He is one of my top 5 artists of all time. So his Christmas album is definitely like my first go-to listening. And I would probably say that Cold December Night on his Christmas album is one of my favorites.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that. Yeah, his Christmas album is definitely a good one. I've spun that when I've had to provide background music at like Christmas corporate functions and stuff like that. Um, yeah, so yeah, no, he's well, the stuff that he does is very, very good for sure. Yeah. I know it's interesting with me with like Christmas music in general. I tend to stick to it's funny because like I do listen to everything when it comes to just straight up music. When it comes to
Mhm.
Christmas music though, I tend to deviate more towards the traditional stuff, although I do like Trans-Siberian Orchestra and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I will tend to deviate more towards the classics when it comes to that. Yet with every other genre, I listen to pretty much everything else. Like, you know, you listen to my music. Well, no, you all get the point. I have my own music, and I also play in a wedding band. Plus, I DJ for that band, so I'm playing all types of stuff in there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for everyone else that's watching this, if you haven't noticed, I've started doing weekly arrangements, metal arrangements of pop songs, pop or electronic songs, basically top 40 stuff, which is
And
always
he
fun.
takes requests. Send requests.
Yes, I do take requests. Please send requests. I have another video coming out Tuesday, but I still want requests and stuff, so send them, please. Yeah.
Yeah. I was asked about what the band name is for the show that I do in NYC. So I don't think it's disclosing anything to say that the group is Keith and Kristen Getty.
Mhm.
So if anybody's in the New York area and is interested in coming to see that show, definitely grab tickets for it.
Yes, absolutely do that. Yeah, and if I'm not already booked that weekend, I will absolutely be there. I just don't have my calendar on me. It's back there, but I'm not going to turn my back to the audience while we're on here right now.
Good etiquette.
Yeah. Now you said also, by the way, that you're doing stuff with your mom in these videos. So if I'm not mistaken, like myself, you come from a musical family too, to a degree, correct? Right?
Yes, I have a very musical mom. And my brother was a dancer. My oldest brother was also a musician for he still plays a little bit, but not as much as he used to. But yeah, we were definitely raised with music.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. And so for people that don't know, what does your mom play?
So she honestly she can play all the instruments, but with her mouth. She's like a human orchestra.
Okay.
which is a feat that not everybody can say that they can do. But as of recently, I have I've enlisted her to play cajon, so the small box drum that you sit on and pound.
Right.
And she's now playing at church with me, where I'm the leader. And she's getting so into it. She's like, "Hey, can we accessorize?" So I went out and bought a bunch of little cajon accessories. We got like a little jingle tap and a little tambourine and shakers, all sorts of fun stuff.
That's great.
Yeah, so when she does videos with me, she'll usually either play that or I'll have her sing or we'll do something silly. Last year, the video she did with me, I think it was last year, we did Blue Christmas, and she chose to play the kazoo. And I gotta tell you, it was the best darn kazoo performance I've ever heard. She
That's
did almost choke on one of the kazoos though during our practicing, because she decided to start playing the Doors on kazoo, which was also pretty awesome. Like, I
song.
wish I had that on video. It was Touch Me. Yes,
Okay,
she
yeah.
randomly went in to touch me. I don't know where that came from out of Blue Christmas, but that's where we went. And
Doors are
yeah,
awesome. So there's basically you can go into a Doors song from anything
from
pretty much.
anything. Yeah, why not?
That is pretty cool though. You said so your mom does all wind and brass instruments, you're saying?
Oh yeah. Oh
Those are
yeah.
two
Uh-huh.
very different embouchures right there. That for people that don't know, brass players tend to mainly only stick to brass instruments, and even then it's like trumpet players mainly will stick to trumpet. They're very specialized that way. Sometimes they'll play trombone, but not always. Whereas with wind players, like guys that play saxophone, they'll usually play all the different types of saxophones, and then sometimes they may play clarinet too, and flute and everything. But like when you get someone that's doing all the wind categories and the brass categories, that doesn't happen really.
Except I'm laughing because she doesn't play any of them, but she plays all of them. So
I'm
she's a human orchestra.
I'm very
People
confused.
people who are listening on Instagram who know her will understand. But like, she doesn't actually play the instruments. She just makes all the sounds.
Oh, she mimics the sound.
Yes, which still is amazing. You have to
That,
admit.
that is very amazing. And at the same time, here I was sitting there thinking, you literally had an entire wind and brass section just sitting, like
I
all
know.
the instruments just strewn about one of your music rooms or your studio. Like if I was to come over and visit, I would see a trumpet, a bari, a tenor, a soprano, a flute, a clarinet, all those. Be walking in afraid that I'm gonna trip over a trombone or something.
I do have a trumpet, but nobody plays it. It's just for looks.
Well, have your mom learn how to do it. Be like, you can mimic the
You know
sound, but
what?
can you also do that? Can you also
Right.
use?
Can you just make it happen? This could be really useful.
Yeah,
Yes.
it
So
does take a
sometimes
lot.
she will do background sounds on songs for me, and
Yeah.
she'll say, just don't label that was me. We'll just let people wonder where that noise came from.
Well, the fact that she made the kazoo happen is cool because it's rare when a kazoo can actually sound not silly.
Right. Right. Yep.
You know, I'm thinking of a couple instances where it hasn't sounded silly, and that's either, well, when your mom did it, or the song Love Roller Coaster by the Chili Peppers, where they did their own version of the song, but instead of having a horn section do it, they played the horn parts on kazoos. But the thing though is
Oh,
that
that's great.
the thing though is that it's the Chili Peppers. So when pretty much whenever the Chili Peppers do anything, it's going to be awesome. If anyone has not heard the song Love Roller Coaster, the Chili Peppers version of it, listen to it because it's one of the greatest things on the planet. The original version is obviously a classic, but their version of it is just what this is awesome. I remember I had it. I remember I had that thing. I remember I had that thing blasting 2 years ago when my band and I did a my band and I did a we did a Halloween show, and we were headlining that night, and every band came on playing originals, but also they went on sort of as a tribute act as well, and we went as none other than Spinal Tap, which was fantastic. In fact, there a review of our show ended up in Boston Groupie News that night, with a picture of me holding up the Stonehenge. But I remember I provided the house music that night, and I basically just trolled everyone all night with my music selection on there. It was not, you know, Halloween spooktacular or any Halloween related music. No. It went from like the Beavis and Butthead, version of Love Roller Coaster to Barry White doing Can't Get Enough of Your Love Babe to the SpongeBob rendition of Sweet Victory to just it just trolled everybody. It was fantastic. Leave it to me to do that, though. That's what you have to do.
Yep.
Indeedy. Yeah. So, yeah, so you've definitely got your hands full with all this stuff. So when do I know when our video comes out, but like, so when do all these like Christmas collabs start? First week of December or like the Sunday after Thanksgiving?
Yeah, so it'll be the first Sunday of December. So I think it's the December 3rd. And then it'll be one every Sunday since Christmas Eve is on a Sunday, for leading up to that. Christmas Eve will be the special big release day of this secret project that we've been talking about. Yes. And then Christmas Day, there will be one more that comes out later in the day to close everything out.
That's fantastic. So I guess before we close this one out here, what would you recommend to people listening, musicians listening who have never done a collaboration with a person that lives so far away from them? Like, how would you recommend they get started and start learning this kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, first I would encourage that just do it. It doesn't matter what equipment you have. Obviously, I've talked about you can do it with just, your phones and make 2 videos and download some free video software on your computer and put them together. And so, just the first step really is just get out there and try it. And I would definitely recommend starting with that kind of a collaboration just to work it out of your system and get rid of the fear that might come along with it. Pick something fun and easy. And from there, if you have the equipment to do so, try getting more pieces involved, grab a couple of friends, or try putting together tracks of your own and then throwing somebody on top. And but yeah, and then if you're someone who writes music as well, that's always another fun way to collaborate and just like do what we're doing. Hop on a Zoom chat with somebody and say, I've got an idea, I got some lyrics, I know you've always got music in your head, let's throw them together and see what we get. And you just never know, that might turn out to be your debut video and people might love it.
And this is true. It's I've heard really cool stuff from people that never got to meet in the same room. I wouldn't say I would not say that it beats being in the room with the person, but I'm saying it is doable and cool stuff can come out of it. And I'll leave it with this. So Dweezil Zappa did a song called Dinosaur, and he had like 10 other guitar players play on it. He had his band in LA do the bed tracks. But he had a whole bunch of other guitar players play on it that were like stationed all over America, maybe even outside of America. And it sounded fantastic. It sounded absolutely fantastic. And it is doable. It's doable. You just got to get in there and just do it.
Yeah. And I think the beautiful thing about music is that it's very much, it connects people. And even people from different backgrounds, like who would have thought that someone who plays metal music mostly would get together with somebody who plays 50s pop and we'd make something really cool. But it's just music has that ability to bring us together and to cross the barriers of differences and allow us this amazing palette to play with. And
I
yeah,
100% agree. That's the most important thing. It really doesn't matter genre necessarily. I mean, it helps to have some stuff in common, but like we said, you and I have very different backgrounds musically, but because it is music and it is a uniting factor, we were able to come together and create this really
right.
cool stuff here.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing about it too, is allowing yourself to know that like the finished product is going to sound a little bit like Max and a little bit like Rachel and maybe a little bit like nothing that either of us would generally create. I mean, I was nervous the first time about making a metal styled song because I was like, this isn't what I do. I don't really know how to do it. And two, I don't really know if the people who listen to my music are going to like this. And the overwhelming amount of comments that I got was like, we want to hear this again. When can you do this again? This is really, really cool. This is totally out of your comfort zone. This is a whole different side. And so, yeah, I think collaborating is special in the way that it like pulls you out of what you're used to and teaches you new things and allows you to experiment and learn.
100%. It's, you're always going to learn something new. Everyone involved is going to learn something new, and it's going to make you a better player and a better musician and all that stuff. And yeah, and you can't always assume people aren't going to like this. It's like you don't know what the people are going to
Right.
like. Just do it because you
Exactly.
yeah, just do it because you want to do it. And if
Hmm.
and you never know, you may surprise people and they'll be like, "What on earth is this?"
Yep.
Yeah, and you're always learning so much. And we've learned so much stuff, working with each other with each other doing all this kind of stuff. And it's just great and I'm, really looking forward to when people hear the thing that we've got coming out.
Yeah, I really can't wait. We are ready to move on to the production process of mixing everything.
Right.
And that'll be finishing up in the next couple of weeks here or something. And
Yeah.
yeah, very excited. It's hard to keep what once you get things finished, it's hard to keep them a secret until it's time to release them.
It really is, yeah. I agree.
Yeah, and also from a business perspective too, another good thing about collaboration, just as a takeaway, what we're talking about, it's always a positive way to grow fan bases. As you said, you were promoting my channel earlier, and likewise, I'm promoting your channel through, even doing this podcast thing and saying like, hey guys, check out Max's channel. And it's a really great way to span fan bases and, as you said, help people like find out things that they maybe didn't realize that they liked before.
Yeah, it's absolutely a way to grow your business. Working with other people, you're gonna be. I mean, this comes into play with like just opening acts too. Whenever you see a band,
Right.
let's say you get tickets to see your favorite band, the opener may not necessarily be someone you've heard of before. Don't intentionally come to the concert late just because you want to see your favorite band. Go and
Yeah.
see the opening act. I have gone to concerts where my favorite band was the headliner, obviously, but there were like two or three other bands, sometimes even four bands on the that were opening, and I would be like, I know one of the openers, I have no idea who these other people are. But then I would go and see them and I'd be like, oh my god, every single person in here is awesome. The first time I saw Periphery, um they had three openers. This was in 2015, right before I came to Berklee. I saw them in Manhattan at Irving Plaza, and they had three openers. Now, the main opener that I knew was Thank You Scientist, who, for those of you that don't know, I studied with their guitar player, Tom Monda, when I was 17, and for a number of years after that. Um, and this was right when Periphery was really starting to break. So I was really happy to see Thank You Scientist on that bill. But also on that bill was a band called Woven War. They were the remnants of a band called As I Lay Dying and another band called Nothing More. I had never heard of those middle two bands. After I went after I saw them play, I immediately became fans of them, and I've seen nothing more 2 or 3 times since then. Just seeing them headline. Woven War's not around anymore, but like, yeah, immediately became a fan of those two other bands afterwards. And hey, they gained another fan right there. Working with
Right.
other people is always a good way to not only improve yourself as an artist, but also to, like you said, expand your business and all that kind of
Yep.
stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. Berklee taught us well.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. But we also went out and took opportunities.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for hopping in today and doing this. I'm really glad I was able to have you on, and I'm really glad that the YouTube stream didn't collapse like last time when I did it. So, but yeah, it's probably because I'm just operating off my Ethernet rather than the Wi-Fi. That always helps. So, anywho,
It's good.
before we sign off, I've already dropped links to your website and your YouTube in the chat, but finally, for people watching on Instagram as well and other people on YouTube, where can people find all your stuff?
Yeah, so on for YouTube, I am Noah Ray Music. If you look that up, all one word, Noah Ray Music. That is my channel. You'll see my picture come up. I'm holding the cello, and pretty much everything gets posted there. I'm also on Instagram, as you see, as at Mischievous Minis, where I advertise my music, but I also have other art there, toy photography that I do, and you'll find my art page there as well, Rad's Designs. Yeah, so all art all the time. But I would love for you guys to stop by any of the different channels that I'm on and let me know that you heard us here today.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody, today. And for those of you that may not be subscribed to my newsletter, make sure you go to my website, maxborisguitar.com. Subscribe to my newsletter, and you will get weekly updates on other podcasts I have coming up and gigs I have coming up. And oh yes, and for anyone in the DC area, when can they see you performing next in any capacity?
The next thing I have coming up, aside from New York, is I will be playing with the Greater Annapolis Ballet in Annapolis, Maryland. We'll be doing 4 shows of the Nutcracker over the 3rd weekend of December. So you can check that out. I will be there playing piano 1.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Good luck with those performances.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe to all of Rachel's stuff. Yeah, and then go to my website and subscribe to the newsletter so you can get weekly updates on stuff I got going on. And thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your weekend. It is
Merry
Sunday.
Christmas, all.
Yes, and yeah, Merry early Christmas. Yeah. Yep. All right. And yes, and thank you, Mrs. DeWitt. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. All right. Have a good rest of your weekend,
Take care,
everybody.
guys.